And I'll start. And I also have a PowerPoint.
Okay,
Can I?
I will share. Yes, I
Yeah.
will.
Okay. So you want? I can start.
Yep, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Not yet. Just I do a little brief introduction first. Not
Oh, okay.
not information about you, but Critical Connections has now been going almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years
Mm.
in May that we started, and it's been a great run. I'm hoping some young person will take it over one of these days. But anyway, it's a pleasure to have the artists that we have, and our purpose is to enhance and encourage critical discourse in ceramics. Our guest today is Shira Silverston from the Benyamini Art Center in Tel Aviv. I'm just thrilled to have her. And she has been editor of, she started a journal out of the Benyamini Art Center in Israel. And I want to talk, I'm hoping she'll talk about that as well as her work. And so take it away, Shira.
Okay. So good afternoon to you all. Here it's already 10 p.m. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. But I'm okay. Drank a lot of coffee. So
Yeah.
first, I want to thank you, Elaine, for your generous invitation to speak today, and thank everyone who joined. So I'm Shira Silverstone. I'm a ceramic artist, editor, writer, and curator. After completing a bachelor degree in life science, I studied ceramics at Tel Aviv College, and just recently completed a master's degree in industrial design. I live in a small town near Jerusalem with my partner, 3 kids, and a very hairy dog. He's the only one that didn't go to sleep yet. So Elaine asked me to talk about Textura, the online magazine of the Benyamini Ceramics Center, which I edit. I thought a lot about what it is most important for me to tell you in our limited time that could interest you as writers and editors who share various dilemmas at work. And I decided to focus on the challenges that the current period in which we live in the world, and in Israel specifically, pose to us as people working in the field of ceramics. Over the next hour, I will talk about the significance of publishing an online magazine in Hebrew that deals with ceramics and material culture in Israel at a complex period of war, instability, and uncertainty. So I'll just share my, just a minute, share. And to my Zoom, just a minute. Okay, do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So before I get to talking about Textura, some background about the Benyamini Center. The Issachar and Yehudit Benyamini Contemporary Ceramics Center is located in Tel Aviv. It is a public nonprofit organization founded in 2001, as set out in the will of Yehudit Benyamini and expresses Yehudit and Issachar's love of ceramic art as it was in their home, a place of work and creativity, a place of cultural debate, and that endorses interdisciplinary dialogue. The Benyamini Ceramic Center promotes ceramic art and design in a vibrant atmosphere of creativity, for professional artists, as well as the general public. Though through the ongoing activity, we wish to create a dialogue between the various aspects of ceramics and extend its scope in the broad spectrum of material culture. The center is committed to fostering ceramic art and design on all levels, including a school for ceramics art with a comprehensive program of workshops, lecture, and master classes. An international residency program aimed at developing international ties with the ceramic community abroad. I arrived at the Benyamini Center. The Benyamini, it was at the center, the Beit Benyamini, in 2009, when the director, Marcel Klein, was recruiting people to the board of Bet Benyamini in preparation for renovation and move to a new building that would be an Israeli center for ceramics, the first of its kind in Israel. I had just returned from Linda Lighton's residency at the Red Star Studios in Kansas City, Missouri, and I dreamed of being a partner in a center like the one I had been to. I dreamed of ceramic center that would promote the field and serve as a home and center for the community. And sometimes dreams come true. And so I found myself in the company of 5 wonderful and talented superwomen who share a common vision. Today, we have a vibrant and active center in which there is a never dull moment, a school ran by Ravit Latzer, rotating exhibition in our galleries curated by Dr. Shlomit Bauman, a very impressive library and archive headed by Esther Beck, that she's here with us today, residency program headed by Yael Novak, books written in Hebrew that are edited by Shlomit Bauman and published every 5 years, with critical writing about topics that arose in our exhibitions, as well as technological book written by the potter Eti Goen. And last, a scholarly program that I run along with the editing of the Textura magazine. In 2020, we found ourselves, like most of the world, locked down at home during the COVID epidemic. We understood even more strongly the importance and potential inherent in online communication. And like many, we switched to Zoom meetings and thought it was time to realize another dream, an online magazine dedicated to ceramics and material culture in Hebrew that would be updated weekly. In Israel, there was only one ceramics magazine, which is printed and published twice a year and has a limited audience. We thought there was room to expand the writing about our field in Hebrew, and in addition, we set ourselves the goal of encouraging creators and makers from the field of ceramics and related fields to write and expand the discussion and discourse in the local ceramics field in Israel and internationally. As you might know, there is very little writing in our field. In many cases, at least in Israel, there are people who know how to write, but lack professional knowledge in ceramics. At the same time, there are artists and makers who know the field of ceramics well, but unfortunately do not know how to write well. So in the past, I work in the writing, editing, and production aspects of journalism in Israel. So for me, combining ceramics with writing was ideal. Another important goal we had in mind was to serve as a body of accumulated online knowledge that would be accessible to everyone. All the text we upload remain on the site and can be found at any given moment with a simple search and for free. Creating such an archive with high accessibility is of great value. The topics we deal with and promote are sustainability, gender, immigration, historic Israeli ceramics, identity politics, activism through craft, and more. Those are very important to me personally and professionally. I see clay as a means of conveying various messages that go beyond aesthetics and excellent technique. So in 2020, I formed an editorial team of 5 people, and we started working on the site and characterizing it. And in January 2021, we went online. So what do we have in Textura? In Textura, there are a variety of writing styles, and the magazine is divided into general sections with subsections. This is the UNIM page, the reviews section, a section with writing that is more theoretical. In this section, we tend to publish more academic texts that deal with material culture and craft with an emphasis on ceramics. Due to the significance lack of academic writing about our field in Hebrew, we sometimes translate texts from abroad to make them accessible to our Hebrew-speaking audience. For example, we have published texts by Deb Wood, Mary Callahan Boomstrack, Joe Down, and more. The view section, texts that are not necessarily time dependent, like interviews, personal columns, etc. Hitrachshuyot, event section, mainly a review of exhibitions in Israel and abroad. We have reporters in New York, Amsterdam, and London. All 3 are Israelis who come from the field of design, ceramics, and art, and the professional perspective is significant. They write about exhibition, but also visit artist studios and thus bring us interesting material from abroad that become accessible to our Hebrew-speaking audience. In addition, we have writers from Israel who cover relevant exhibition taking place in Israel, not only in the Benyamini Center, and interview artists and curators. Poems. This section is more poetic and lyrical. There is a limit of up to 400 words in Hebrew, and the section is edited by Dr. Shlomit Bauman. We divided it into 3 main formats, which I'm very proud of them. He'arot, which mean illuminations. In Hebrew, the word he'arot also means comments, so illuminations and comments. A section that deals with one object and provides information about it interactively. For example, I just click and I get some information about this thing. Okay, cool, right?
Yeah.
Another section there in poems, we call it Dimui Plus, which means an image plus. A short text, sometimes poem or poetic piece, and an image. And the last one in Poemot, we call it words, just words, milim. Each time represent a term related to material culture with a new personal interpretation by different writers, creating a kind of update dictionary. Okay, so now it's the more up to today. Textura since October 7th, 2023. On Saturday, October 7th, the holiday of Simchat Torah, at 6:29 a.m., our lives were turned upside down. Thousands of Hamas terrorists invaded the area surrounding Gaza, where there are many Israeli kibbutzim, moshavim, and small towns. They committed a massacre. They abused, raped, murdered, burned, and kidnapped innocent people, women, men, children, elderly people, middle-aged people, young people, celebrating at a large outdoor festival. At the same time, hundreds of missiles were fired at all of Israel, and the terrorist organization Hezbollah also joined from the northern border of Israel. We were shocked and heartbroken. We were devastated. Hundreds murdered and almost 300 kidnapped. People taken from their beds on an early morning holiday. That day, a war broke out that has not yet ended. Hopefully, ceasefire will start on Monday. So going back 468 days ago, for the first 2 weeks after October 7th, I couldn't stop crying. I barely slept. I had no words. I couldn't speak. In the first few weeks, like many in Israel, I was busy volunteering, helping families and survived people from the massacre, and helping residents from the northern Israel who were forced to quickly abandon their homes because of Hezbollah missiles. Like many places, the Benyamini Center was closed, and we didn't publish any new material on Textura for about a month. It seemed for me irrelevant at that time. My head and heart were in shock, and the world of ceramics seemed to me in those days unrelated to this terrible reality. About 2 weeks, I think, after October 7th, the Israeli army entered Gaza to fight Hamas to return the kidnapped. Since then, the situation has only gotten more complicated. And the heart aches at the harsh sights that are the reality of the people, children and adults living in the hell of Gaza. Until now, in Israeli, daily life has become a surreal routine. Occasionally, missiles flying over us from Yemen, from wherever. And operations and death hang like a cloud, black cloud over the Middle East. Against the backdrop of such an extreme reality, what do we do? How do we create? How do we write? And about what do we write? On October 8th, the day after the massacre, we published a message in Textura and in the media of the Benyamini Center. You can see it here. With great sadness and great pain, we hope for quieter days. As you might say, little did we know. I remember that at that time, Elaine, you sent an email about the topic of the last November meeting, which was supposed to be a discussion of beauty. I remember reading the email and starting to cry. Not that crying that was that rare in those days, don't feel bad. I couldn't think about beauty and didn't see beauty in anything. Claims seemed irrelevant to me and art too. But time takes its course. We return to seeing beauty in the little things of life, trying to maintain some kind of routine. And so, with no choice, I regained my balance. At the end of October 2023, when we still couldn't find words to describe reality and what we were going through and we were looking for comfort, we decided at Textura, the editorial team, to issue an open call for artists in the field of ceramics and other mediums to send us images of their works. We decided to publish only images without words. We asked them to send old works that were receiving a new interpretation these days, as well as new work. And so we returned to publishing a group of 5 images at a time from November 2023. We basically opened a kind of an online gallery, which is still open, and we still update it every few weeks or months. And I will go over some of the images with you. Now we get inside Textura. Tell me if you just see it. Do you see it? Yeah, okay, so I'll go backwards to November. Just a minute. Published a lot of things. Okay, so we started here. Natalia alone with her cabbage heart. Batya Malka. You can see those works are, this is 2014, this one, Elian Davidovich, you can see here matches, a box of matches made of ceramics. You can see in the background, I don't know if you see well, a kind of a village view, a very pastoralic view with these red dots on it. Shula Miller with shards. This is an interesting one. Liav Mizrahi is an artist. He is not a ceramic artist, but he is an artist, and he paints a lot vases. It symbolizes all kinds of things for him. And this specific drawing he made those days last year. It is called My Family in Gaza, Avichai Borodetz. Avichai Borodetz was a man from one of the kibbutzim. His wife and family that morning on October 7th were kidnapped. He was out of the house. He was fighting the Hamas terrorists, and they were kidnapped. I think 3 little kids and his wife. And he was wounded. And after a few weeks, he just took a chair and sat in front of the defense minister of defense, and he started a protest of the family of the hostages. So Liav used to go there and drew him with this vase. I'll go some further. This is a Tel Aviv, if you know her. This is also, I think, a very strong and interesting work. It made before 2023 by Orit Ben Ariel. She called it Ariel. Ariel is the name of her son. He became 18, and in Israel, everybody that gets to this age, 18, must go to the army. Well, if you are religious Hasidic, not, but all the other have to. And what she did, she kind of made a lot of kidney tools from ceramics and built kind of a shield for him. And in the video, she puts it on, and then it's her son, and then she starts cutting it. Like he's losing his shield, and she's losing her shield as a mother of a young soldier that doesn't know where he's going. And I think it's a very powerful work. Also speaking about using symbols from our studio as a protector, as something that give us comfort and a feel of safety. And some more works. Well, this is plastic, but you can see a pigeon, a peace pigeon. You see, she doesn't look so good. And black and white, Miri Fleischer. And maybe you know her, Gila Miller Lapidot with Shelter. This is a work of Shlomit Bauman, also a frame from a video she made in 2021, was related to her growing up in a kibbutz and all the things around it. And you see a lot of fragiles that you can see in a lot of works in this time. Some more, Martha Rieger, maybe you know her. This is Gala Ermeland. She drew here, I'm Afraid. These are kind of pins in memory of people who died. And going on, this is Rani Gilat. He calls it The Quiet is There, the small person in porcelain inside the plaster room. And this is Noa Radia Iri, and she calls it When the House is No Longer Safe. Also talking about safe, feeling safe, home, fragility, unstable. This is porcelain with glass. Sorry, by Oshrat Cohen. What? This is also more critical work by Eden Chevroni. She calls it gold borders, you know, like soldiers playing. Yonat, this is Yasmin Walsenbusch, and she calls it arterial blockage. And this is an interesting work of Ravit Latzel, that she is the manager, director of the School of the Benyamini Ceramics Center. This is a work from 2016, but it's very relevant now. We see this kind of view a lot in Gaza, maybe some in North Israel also, where missiles destroyed a lot of property and killed people. This is a glass work by Noah Giladi. Also video, also red. You can see a lot of red, a lot of shards, black and red. This Simcha Even Chen, you all probably know her from IAC. Her collapsed sculpture in the colors of the Israeli flag. This is also work by Fugi Naim. She made it last year, and she calls it Shtachim Ptuchim, which means open spaces, which is a kind of a word when they say in the radio, in the television, when they're missiles, and it doesn't, you know, it just we don't bomb it, so it falls somewhere. So we call it Shtachim Ptuchim, like it didn't injure anybody, but it did. Sorry, my dog is crying. He's too sad. Also, some work. It's a kibbutzim view. Talia Tokatli, maybe you know her. Esther Beck, also here. And we'll go further. So, so toward the end of November 2023, a deal was made to release some of the hostages. Most of the children and women were released. 80 Israeli hostages out of 2,067, and we could breathe a little easier. We felt then that it was time to return to publishing weekly, not only images, but also text. At the Benyamini Center, there was also a feeling that people needed a place to escape to, a place where they could feel normal for a few hours. And until now, we all feel this and are grateful every day for how lucky we are to be working in ceramics and to be meeting people who love ceramics. It is comforting and it is sanity and it is a huge and bring us huge spot, bright spot in this time of great chaos. And I think this is one of the most powerful features of ceramics. So we began our publications with an interview with an artist that took place before October 7th. The ceramicist Yara Rabinovich presented an exhibition at the Benyamini Gallery that was closed for a while because of the war. She originally was from northern Israel and left on October 8th because of the danger. So it was kind of relevant, even though the interview was made before October 7th. So in preparing for this lecture, I went through our publications for the past year and thought to myself, in a few decades, when someone reads what we published this year, what will they understand about what happened in our crazy reality through these texts and images that deal with ceramics and material culture? What kind of picture are we presenting? And I have to say, thanks again, Elaine, for the opportunity to take a moment of observation from the sidelines and think retrospectively about the past year at Textura. This year, we mainly published reviews exhibitions in Israel, along with the occasional bit of escapism from abroad, so that we have something to dream about, because leaving Israel was problematic last year because most foreign airlines canceled flights and Israeli companies charged outrageous prices. And not only for you, Anna, also here. So to return to what we published in Israel, the major questions are, what do we create in a period like this that is still ongoing? We are all suffering from trauma or post-trauma to varying degrees. So what do we create? How does reality enter the artworks? I have to say carefully, from my personal perspective, most of the things that have been created in the past year in the context of what happened here still seem a bit flat, my opinion, and lacking perspective to me. The responses in most cases are impulsive and sometimes a bit cliched. A lot of use of red anonements that symbolize the Israeli area near Gaza Strip, and a lot of ceramic shards. I think that in the last year and 3 months, we had seen and are still seeing such difficult and horrifying scenes in Gaza that in-your-face art is too much. We need more time, and really, alongside works made in the context of the war, there are also artists, many artists, who continue to create the same objects they created before with various variations, clinging to the familiar, the known, and the comforting. Examples of interviews and exhibition in the past year. This, for an example, is a very interesting interview with Elizaveta Guseva, longing for a different landscape. She is a Russian, and she escaped from Russia during the war 2 years ago and came to Tel Aviv with her partner. And she's working here, and she just got to another war. And she was in a residency in one of the Tel Aviv galleries, and it was very interesting to talk to her. Also, aesthetics of this integration, a conversation with Mark Tsula, which you all probably might know. He was here and had a very big exhibition in the Benyamini Center. A very interesting work that he made before October 7th that deals with the sustainability and the destruction of how we destruct the world. But it was so relevant, presenting it, got new meanings for us. So we had an interview, very interesting interview with him. The search of sense of home. with Talia Mukamel. She is a designer that works with all kinds of materials, also ceramics and textile. And she talked a lot about identity and home and being what is the sense of home. The spirit of time, of the times and the human face. It's a personal column by Racheli Otman-Gaji. She is also a potter, and she writes for us a very personal column. And so she wrote about how creation and during wartime. So along all of these, you can also see other things like the orange candlestick from Beit HaYotzer by Dr. Ravid Rovner. This is a historical article about her family ceramic factory that no longer exists, as well as all the Israeli ceramics industrial factories that are gone, unfortunately, I must say. Collector and landmapper, Dorit Provisor. She's a designer who collects local clay and combines it with imported clay. A topic related to sustainability and technology, on which we also published quite a few international articles, such as a review of an exhibition that Wendy just curated in the Netherlands, which was called Sustainable Ceramics, and number 1, recycle, repair, and reactivated. In the critical context, I would also like to mention the review that Yael Novak wrote about the exhibition Our America, Whose America, curated by Leslie Farren during the last NCICA conference. That exhibition, probably you saw it, deals with a critical social, cultural, and political perspective. These two issues, sustainability and craftivism, are very important to me, and the awareness of them in Israel, I think, is lacking a bit. So it is our mission, my mission, to publish content that deal with those two issues as very important issues. In the local context, I want to return to another voice that unfortunately is not heard enough in Textura and in Israel. As an example, we will look at the poem section, the work of Farid Abu Shakra. Farid is a multidisciplinary Palestinian artist who works in various media, including a lot of textiles and ceramics. Very strong works in which he connects to his culture, tradition, with a critical statement. He deals a lot with his identity as a Palestinian in the state of Israel. And now in this context, I want to say two things that are very important to me to say. One, it is difficult to find a significant amount of critical work in our country these days, and perhaps even in general. And here I ask myself and you a question for upcoming discussion about critical writing. When it comes to politics, especially in these days in Israel, which are so sensitive and charged, when every little statement can be a trigger for someone, these voices of criticism are excluded. Therefore, I try to at least bring a variety of voices, and that is not easy either, which leads me to the second thing I wanted to say. And I say it with great regret. I would love to give a bigger stage to Palestinian artists and their work. However, my accessibility to them is very limited. And of the few I know, some do not want to interview or cooperate. And I completely understand their difficult, painful place. In addition, and I also say this with regret, I am limited in my knowledge for examples about galleries and artists who originated in Gaza. How odd and awkward it is that I know from reading an Australian art magazine about gallery in Gaza that was destroyed from the Israeli bombings. As I mentioned at the beginning of my talk about the Benyamini Center and Textura, we all believe with all of our hearts in dialogue between people and the power of ceramic art to serve as a bridge between people from different cultures, from different worlds, and with different opinions. Over the years, we gained a lot of friends from the international ceramics community that we continue the dialogue and cooperation between us, and we are always excited and happy about it. But I have to say that I have encountered a few such situations in the past year of unwillingness to enter into a dialogue. For me, this is the power of our medium to connect people, and I was quite disappointed by the refusal of ceramic artists or writers in the international craft field to cooperate with us in Textura. I respect their desire, but cannot help but wonder how it is in line with the mission and commitment we have in the world of ceramics and art. And I may end with a cliche, but as most of the cliches, it is true, so true. The reality we live in is very complex. It is not black or white. And I see my role as the Textura editor to bring this complexity and diversity of voices to our field. I see great importance in promoting critical writing and art making, and I believe in our medium as a tool for culture and social change. Thank you.
Thank you, Shira. That was so enlightening. We on the outside of Israel can only sympathize and just feel as much as we can, which is almost impossible to understand all that you've been through. I think that there's no way. I can't say no way. Some artists, as you said, do, but it's difficult to separate what has happened to you in Israel from your work. I mean, our work is about us and our experiences, and it's so difficult to separate that. When you and I met in Geneva 2 years ago, I guess it is now, we talked about the possibility of English writers writing for your publication. Now you're in at the time you were not doing any translation. So now it sounds like you are doing some translation, which certainly can be done online automatically and then cleaned up, and then maybe check. But how much of that? I mean, we have writers as an audience here who are also interested in our mission of encouraging and enhancing critical writing worldwide. How can we be of help to you to feed you with articles? And so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so as I said, one of our main goals is to have a magazine in Hebrew. But we also, as I said, we translate from English to Hebrew articles, and we would love to get, every interesting article that deals with the subjects that arose about sustainability, about critical writing, about craft, about anything that can be interesting to our field and enlighten us. And so I really do invite you all, if you want to write
great.
for us too. We also pay, well, not too much, as we are, in the ceramics field, but yes, and we also have a language editor and a translator. So
good. That's a change, and that's wonderful. You've come a long way in the short time you've been publishing. So I'll open it up to questions from the floor, as it were, if this is a floor. Come on, I know you're not shy. Anna.
So almost following what we're saying, but so obviously through these difficult times, you stopped publications and exhibits and your work and, you know, that kind of thing. So it was kind of stop and go for a couple times. And so I was just curious about what some people that sort of time when you're forced to, for different reasons, to stop your usual routines and the usual things you do. Can you, beside, you know, is there anything in particular that you could say maybe was, I hate to say gained, because obviously with the gain there's also a loss, but something that maybe you looked at differently because of those spaces in between?
It's an interesting question.
You broke up there, Anna. I don't know. Did
You're
you get
breaking
that?
up. Yeah,
Shira?
did you?
I heard her.
I
Good.
think you're breaking up, Elaine.
You think so? Am I
Yeah.
pixelated?
No offense, no offense.
No. Go ahead.
So, what was your question? Sorry, it's almost 11 o'clock. It was about what we
Yeah,
gained.
those
Well,
kind of
I think,
break.
I think flexibility and thinking out of the box. Like, okay, so we cannot right now we cannot talk about anything. Okay, so we'll publish a new gallery, an updated gallery. We'll just ask people to, it's like you just go inside the situation, and this is always I'm always I feel lucky that here lucky we gained it, that everything you cannot do anything without maybe thinking it's going to be canceled. Everything is so fluid here, so this flexibility, and also I'm working with a team which is so wonderful, and so we talk, and we think together, and they're very creative and very flexible. So I think this is a very nice thing we gained, that you do something, you just do, and then and you learn in a way, and so this is something. And also, I don't know, it's like everything, it's interesting, like, just to look at things and see them differently because of the new reality. And sometimes things that you didn't appreciate before, works that you didn't appreciate before, now you see them in a different light. And it's interesting also to see how people, makers, how they what they do, if they have this safe studio and they keep on doing what they're doing, or maybe they have to shout out loud something new. I think yeah, it was an opportunity to be in a very surrealistic place, and just do things, just do.
Shira, you have an
I hope
amazing attitude.
Thank you.
Your attitude is admirable. The smile on your face and all that you've been through there. It's incredible. I started wondering what it would be like to have a comparative article on works by artists in other war-torn areas. To see how war has affected their work, and then compare it. I mean, I'm sure there are going to be.
Yeah, this is very interesting, because we published this year. We published an article that also was written before October 7th, and we were supposed to publish it at the same week in October. It was an article about Israeli-Ukraine textile designers that act, and active about the war between Ukraine and Russia. So we had this really interesting review, and I couldn't publish it that week. I couldn't publish it yet because it was, things started to happen here. So it took a few months, and then we published it, and it was very interesting to see, that people took ideas from there and to here, and did all kind of activities, craft activities, like sewing and all kind of symbols that symbolize the war there and here. So it is very interesting, and it's interesting to cover it worldwide. Unfortunately, we're not the only one in the planet that suffer from violence and war.
Yeah.
I posted in the chat regarding that. You're mentioning doing ceramics in war zones. There's a movie out that's received a bunch of awards. It might even go up for an Oscar. It's in that milieu. It's not so easy to get to yet. Like it's certain theaters and mostly New York and LA or something. But it's about our artists. It's a couple that do porcelain work in Ukraine.
Oh.
And I don't want to say too much because I only seen little bits of it, but like I said, it's receiving a great amount of interest, and it's obviously, they're producing this ware, but it's impacted by the war itself. And so anyway, I just thought I would mention that because there is, I think there, and this is just one example. I'm sure there's other examples that would make for what I think you were suggesting, Elaine. Very, very interesting and probing article.
Thank you for posting that, Anna.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments for Shira?
You mentioned, I move and the light comes on. You mentioned that, I mean, in the good form of critique, that the newer work that you've seen so far hasn't, it sounds like you're seeing it more as emotional and not as intellectual, the repetition of broken and shards and red. And what do you think about that? Do you think we and artists right now are just too close to things, or what? Could you talk a little bit more about how you see that in the big picture? And then also, of course, the people remain doing the same type of work.
Yeah. I think when, like the first responses are very impulsive and very, I don't have the word, but it's not that it's more emotional. Yeah, it is emotional, not that, a lot of words are very emotional, but they're very like in your face, and the first thing that jumps into your head. And you like feel that you have to say it, but now you can see, I think a year later, we're still in a war, it's still going on. So the perspective and things happen every day. And there are now, I think there are like more and more things that are becoming more interesting for me. But yeah, I think it's a very natural thing. The first comment, the first things that you shout, and yeah, which it has its place. I gave it a place. I gave it but I also see it as good for its time, and I'm looking forward to see what people will create in the next 5 years. Will there be more critical works, more complicated works? I don't know. I hope so. I think so. I think it's a natural process.
Shammai?
You're right. I think I still see around many people just froze, didn't do anything. Esther can attest to it. I think she entered the studio a few weeks ago, the first time after many months. So many of our friends are just, if they do production, they'll do production to survive. But nobody is doing art. Many of my friends just cannot function. Slowly, after over a year, people getting back to the studio. I don't know what the outcome will look like. I just got into my studio 2 days ago, the first many months. But it's a motion that happens all over. So to take time. We're still in war. So
Yeah.
the hostages release now postponed to Monday, perhaps. So yeah, I just announced it now. So it's very sad. I can all of us. I'm sure Esther can talk to it. It's just the feeling here that we're very sad for so many levels. Just very sad. The situation took so much away from us, from all of us. Shira was frozen for a long time. Esther too. Myself too. So that's and it will take a long time till we see on the art side, not on production side, but the art side, what it did to people. So
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Shamai, for saying that, because that's true. I didn't mention that. A lot of people that just froze.
Wow. Interesting. We don't know how we would react until it happens. All we can do is try to empathize and sympathize. It's hard for us to empathize, not having been through that. But okay, other comments, other questions? This has been great. I'm really excited that we can encourage our audience to do some writing. Joe, you have a comment? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just going to ask, how is your magazine distributed? Is it all digital? Are there hard copies? Is it known here in the States? Do you publicize it outside of Israel?
Well, as I said, it's an online magazine. Every week, we publish new articles. We don't have hard copies, but everything is stored in there. You can get in from everywhere in the world, but it is in Hebrew. So yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll think about translating to English and at least a few articles. And well, we need budget and a new site for that, but somewhere we'll do it. But yeah, so it's just online, and which we didn't have here in Israel. We had, as I said, copied, no, hard copy twice a year. That how they call the Israeli Association of Ceramic Israel Association, but they no longer exist. There is something else now, and they're still publishing it twice a year. Very nice.
Craft Association.
Israeli, now they became
Craft
Israeli. Yeah, now they became the Israeli Craft Association, and they publish a very nice magazine. I also used to work there, and it's still going on.
1280.
Yeah, that's the name of it.
So do you get very many articles that are initially in English?
No, usually I outreach writers, or I read books or magazines from abroad, and Estelle is in charge of our library and all the abroad, all the international things. And sometimes, and she reads everything. Estelle, she knows everything. She reads everything. So sometimes she sends me, and I reach out to the writers and ask them to translate. And yeah,
I was just thinking that you could have those articles that come in English as a separate version, or because if you're translating them, you still have the English version.
Yeah, we have to think how we can do it. Because now we cannot do it in our site. We need to do something with it. But well, it is in our mind. Maybe in a different platform, or in the Benyamini site. but that's going to happen further on.
That's great. And I was also happy to see that you are in your bullet points at the one of your first images, you talked about enhancing critical discourse and critical writing, which I think is important. And I think that's happening around the world. A year ago in January, just this month, I was in India and did a workshop on analyzing writers' work and helping them to make it more critical. And by critical, I don't mean negative. I mean, it's just analytical and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions here? I have so appreciated you sharing so openly and giving us some insight into what is going on there. It's great to see all three of you from Israel here. Yeah, yay.
Thank you again for this opportunity.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah.
It's always
Very good to see you.
Thank you.
Gives a feeling of connectedness. That's great.
I know.
Yeah.
And you know, the ceramics world is that way. We're tactile, connecting people, and it's so good that we can do it internationally and stay in touch this way, if nothing else. And just for those of you who don't know, when I finished an MA in English in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. So my thesis defense was to be on campus. And then when COVID hit, they made our defenses on Zoom. And so I was able, because my thesis was on critical writing, I was able to invite people from around the world who were interested in critical discourse. And we had about 25 people there. Anna was there, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And
memorable.
And about a week later, people started writing to me and saying, let's keep this conversation going. So that's how this group came about. So we've been going, and like I said, it will be 5 years in May. We started in May of 2020, about a month after. And at first we didn't have guests. I didn't have money to pay guests. So people would come on and do it for free. And then people started sending me money, which I don't have a lot, but then we could offer a little bit to a speaker. And that has been great. And I want to tell you about what's coming up in February. Grania Watts from Ireland will be, and probably the ways in which her work has been written about. I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she is in ceramic art London every year and has.
Elaine, you're breaking up a lot, so repeat that last sentence you just said.
Okay. Anyway, Grania Watts will be there. You heard that in February, and then we won't meet in March because of NCICA. We'll be headed there. And then in April, it will be Annabeth Rosen, who will be our guest. And we will not be recording that. At her request, we will not be recording it. So I'm going to encourage as many of you who can to come and hear her speak. Again, about her work and the ways in which it's been written about. It's both of those artists are more abstract. And I think it'll be interesting to hear that. Otherwise, that's about all I've got. Any other comments? Or yeah, and I'll send the link out to this as soon as I get it back. And thank you so much, Shira.
Thank you for this opportunity.
It's great.
Thank you.
And, thank you to everyone for coming. Goodbye, Shammai. Goodbye, Esther. Thank you. So
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Stay
Thank you all.
well.
Yes.
Yes,
Bye.
for
Please.
sure.